Good morning, everyone. My name is Lauren Simpson, and I am with the Small Business Development Center. That is the SBDC, also known as. I am joined with my colleague, Lori Williams. She is a financial extraordinaire, the guru of all things numbers, as well as our special guest, Ms. Emma Green. I am going to give it a couple of minutes for everyone to come in, and I will introduce the show. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Letting a few more of you come on in. Thank you for joining us. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. We are gearing up for the holidays. It's the first day of December, excuse me. Oh my goodness, we're almost at the end of the year. My name is Lauren Simpson. I am with the Small Business Development Center, as also known as the SBDC. We are your local tax dollars at work. And that means that everything that we provide, no cost services, as well as webinars and trainings, all those items are delivered to you for free because they are already paid for by your tax dollars. We're a national organization, over 1,000 locations. And in terms of the LA, Santa Barbara, and Ventura counties, here are our 8 locations. You can see them here. We go as far out as Camarillo to Santa Clarita, Pasadena, down to Long Beach, everywhere in between. Again, we offer no-cost business advising and virtual trainings. The webinar you're on right now is a virtual training. And here's our contact. Please contact us today. Anything that you all need with regards to your business, allowing it to succeed, any pitfalls you may have come into, just reach out to us. We're here to help. Contact phone number is 866-588-7232. You'll see that URL right below if you'd like to become a new client outside the LA area. If there's anyone who isn't in LA that's joining us today, there's our national URL. It's that americassbdc.org. Find your SBDC. With that, oh, let me stop the share, sorry. With that, let me introduce my colleague, Lori Williams. Good morning, Lori. Thank you for joining us today.
Good morning, Lauren. Thank you for that great introduction.
No worries. And then Miss Emma Green is joining us today. She is one of our SBDC clients. And so today's session is going to be a little different in that Lori is going to be a talk show host. She's going to moderate this thing. And so we're excited for that. Emma, thank you so much for joining us. And then really quick housekeeping tidbits. Those of you joining us today, please enter all of your questions into our Q&A. Again, all questions, please put those into our Q&A. If there are any comments, go ahead and you can put those into the chat, but know that the chat is not going to be monitored for questions. And then I will be plugging in some URLs, some web links for you and other useful information so that you can contact the SBDC, as well as submit questions and or suggestions for new, excuse me, show topics. And it's a COVID world. I am so sorry, everyone. My toddler says good morning. And so again, Q&A for questions and chat in case you have any comments. And thank you. I'll hand it over to you, Lori.
Thank you, Lauren. And your toddler is just clapping and excited for this great show. So that is what is happening. Well, thank you everybody for joining Small Biz Talk. I'm going to launch a PowerPoint real quick to get us started here. Just give me a minute while I do that. So as I said, it's Small Biz Talk. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. This is a weekly talk series, and during the series, we're going to present information, expertise, instructions on all things related to business success, and also have guest speakers. So this week, I'm very excited to have Emma as the first guest speaker. As some of you who have been watching my show and staying with me for some time, I am now a talk show host. This is my excited dream. And those of you who had first was introduced to me during the PPP questions that I did for months after months, this is a really fun new addition. So with that, just a little bit about me for anybody who wants to know. Most of the people are getting more and more familiar with me. I am also a business advisor at the SBDC and have been for probably over 10 years now, past the amount of time that I'm counting on it. But let's get to the exciting part. Today, I'm here to introduce Emma Green of Quads Physical Therapy. And let me tell you a little bit about Emma's background and why it is that I've invited Emma to come speak with everybody. So Emma Green has a company, Quads Physical Therapy and Emma Green Programs. And it was started in 2007 in Pasadena, California. Now, initially, it was a part-time operation, a couple days a week in the evenings, as she was a stay-at-home mom, which I know that there are probably several of our attendees that can relate to that. Well, in 2011, Quads moved into a Pilates studio and boutique gym and began to grow. By 2015, Emma was seeing explosive growth. She had additional physical therapists, admin assistants were joining the team. And then in October 2019, notice the date, Emma makes this big leap. And Emma has been a client of mine at the SBDC for some time now. So I remember these experiences she was having as we talked them through. So let's go back. It's October 2019, guys, right before COVID hits, before we have any idea that anything is going to happen in our lives, right? Emma decides to leave her hospital job position and go full-time in her business. Now, I have talked to so many clients over the time with the SBDC, and they'll say, oh, I'm thinking I want to leave my full-time job and I want to go into, into a full-time into my business. I'm going to commit. You guys know how scary that is. Well, then January 2020 happens, and we all know what happened after that. But here's January 2020 first, and Emma Quads has the best month ever. So I can imagine, and Emma's going to tell, she's on high. This is going great. Life's perfect. And March 13th, 2020, everything changed. Emma, just take it from there and tell us what happened and start to tell us the story.
Yeah, I will do. Thanks so much, Laurie, for having me on. I really congratulate you on doing this. It's phenomenal, and I am so privileged to be your first guest. So I actually am going to take it back a little bit to January, because we had our best month ever. But you guys know entrepreneurship, small business ownership, it is a roller coaster ride. And we were on that high of our best month ever. And then we were given notice by our landlady, and I lost one of my full-time PTs. And the ride goes up and down. So I remember in January of 2020, speaking with Laurie and saying, Laurie, I need to find a new location. I found this wonderful location. I love it. It's this, it's that, it's the other. And she said, whoa, slow down. And having that conversation with Laurie in January 2020, and she said to me, just really think about signing that lease. And I took that conversation that I'd had with Laurie and really looked through all the numbers, and I decided to not sign that lease in January 2020. So I refer to Laurie as my financial fairy godmother, because that is what she is. She saved me from being stuck in a lease when COVID hit. Thankfully, and again, I can say now, thankfully, we had hit this point where I was transitioning from one location to another. I had been in that location for 8 years. We'd been given notice before COVID hit. I'd found a new place that we were going to go into. We were going to move into a gym, so to sublease a space. So we hadn't actually signed on the dotted line when COVID hit. And so timing wise, that could not have been better for us, obviously. So we went over the course of a weekend from being almost 100% in person, regular physical therapy clinic, people coming in for treatment, classes, just sort of, you know, imagine a regular physical therapy clinic, to becoming 100% online over a weekend. Now, thankfully, I had already been doing a little bit of telehealth. I had some clients who maybe didn't drive and were relying on family members to bring them to the clinic, and that wasn't always the case. So I'd already started exploring telehealth for some of my clients. So actually, thankfully, it was very easy for us to transition everybody online, which we did over the course of a weekend. Literally, the doors of the gym we were working out of at the time closed. We had no space to be in, and we transitioned to it being 100% online, and we did not lose any clients in that transition. So it was quite amazing.
You know, Emma, thank you for coming back and reminding me of that conversation with the lease. And I remember that day because I was just concerned about you taking on that additional cost if you did not to. And as Emma expressed, that's one of the things, and I'm going to use different examples as we speak, just in generalities to talk to, you know, people online that may be considering some things. I am a big proponent of not jumping in ridiculously. Yes, you do need to take risk. Life is about risk, okay? It's not just about business. Life is about risk. But too much in the entrepreneurship world, it's been spoken and sold that you're going to be an entrepreneur, you just got to jump in and you got to go for it. And these pep talks, if you will, have gotten in people's heads that kind of just blow caution to the wind and jump, and that's what it means to be an entrepreneur. Now, if you're in a bigger company or one that has investment, you'll see every decision is penciled out with a financial analysis first. And there are so many choices that you can make rather than jumping full in. So Emma, thank you for bringing that up, because that is a really, really good point. Now, you said how you had, you know, been a little bit into the telehealth, and this happened over the weekend. So can we kind of unwrap that? Because you got clients that you got to say, okay, now instead of getting services in this way, you've got to get it this way, which I'm sure there was a bit of an understanding because of COVID, but you still probably had some concerns about getting the same service. I want to touch that. And then we're going to go back to how did you get new clients and how did you restructure the business? But let's first start with telling your customers or clients, whatever we want to call them, that I'm not giving you this anymore, I'm giving you this, but it's going to be just as great.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm in a business group with a lot of other PT clinic owners, and of course we were all in the very same situation. And some of those owners had never really worked in telehealth before. It was completely new to them, and I think they approached this whole situation in quite a different way. They were asking their clients, would you like to transition to telehealth, or do you want to wait until this all blows over? Because of course we only thought it was going to be a couple of weeks, couple of months, that we'll all get back together then. Whereas I didn't do that. I took the approach that, no, my biggest concern is the safety of my clients, the safety of my staff, and the safety of anybody in our vicinity. So my clients needed the treatment, they needed that input. There were certain of my clients that actually relied on our services for social interaction as much as physical therapy. And I did not want those clients to be sitting at home in lockdown by themselves with nobody around them and not having that social interaction. So I basically just told my clients, okay, your appointment is on Tuesday at 3 o'clock. I'm still going to see you on Tuesday at 3 o'clock. We're just going to talk like this. This is how we're going to do it. Now, at the time, I had 2 part-time admins who were working in the clinic with me, and they helped me with this transition in that they set up what we called sort of tech calls. And so patients could have a practice call with one of my admins to make sure that they were comfortable getting on can they do it? Does their computer work this way? So my admins would call them on the phone, talk them through step by step, so that they were comfortable with, oh, okay, I'm going to see Emma. It's just as though we were in the clinic. She's going to take me through all my exercises. It's going to be very, very similar. And so that really helped, having that little bit of help to just make people really comfortable that, yes, it is very different, but the whole world's just changed in an instant, but we can still do this. We can still meet. And so that was one of the things that I think made the big difference, in that I didn't give people the option, which kind of goes against a lot of what we normally want to do. We want to give people lots of options. I just told them what was happening.
I think, that was brilliant that you had the calls from the admin. First of all, I think the fact that you didn't give them an option and you told them what was going to happen was actually perfect, because at that time when COVID hit, we all felt a little bit lost, like we were running around afraid and not sure. Having somebody strong come in and say, no, this is how we're going to do it, and this is what's going to happen, and do it in some way that they wanted that to happen anyway. They wanted to continue with it. But I really like to point out the tech call ahead of time with your admin, because I know when people move to technology, especially depending on their client customers' age and comfort with technology, that is the big issue. And then there's this stress. Oh, here's my appointment. What if it's like if you can't find the address of your appointment, it's the same feeling driving around. I bet you took a major concern. And so I think, guys listening, if you're moving your clients to any online platform, having a tech check ahead of time is brilliant, Emma. Love that. Now, so how did it first go? What happened? Did you have any issues you had? And tell us a little bit, because I know somebody asked about the tech platform that you're using. So can you talk tech a little bit with us on what you did and how it worked?
Yeah, absolutely. So initially, we just transitioned onto Zoom. There was obviously a lot of talk about HIPAA, because obviously I am in healthcare. And at the time, there were emergency orders basically saying, look, let's just keep healthcare going. You can kind of do whatever you need to do right now. It's not going to stay like this forever, but at the moment, it's okay. So we initially worked on Zoom. I have already been working on Zoom with some clients. We actually trialed a platform that was relatively new at the time called Salasso. They are based in Ireland, and they actually approached us and asked us as one of the first companies in the US to trial their platform. So we worked with them for about 6 months as well, trialing their platform. And there were some positives, there were some negatives, and of course you'll find that with any platform. And actually right now we are still working on Zoom. Zoom does have a HIPAA compliant option. Obviously it's much more expensive, right, but there are ways around keeping HIPAA compliance. Yeah.
Now, I know somebody's got to be wondering this, or at least I am. So your service was more of a hands-on, and now you're not. So that is the ultimate transformation. I'm just going to say, tell us about that. How did you go from hands-on to not hands-on and still have a customer that's satisfied? And did you have to give them a discount on the services since it was not hands-on? Fill in all of those blanks, Emma. This is fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely. And to this day, my mom can't get over the fact that I do physical therapy online. So my own mother. But basically, I mean, obviously it needs must. We were in a situation where, well, it's this or nothing. So this is going to be better than nothing. And it made me realize that probably 90% of what we do as physical therapists is education, and it is teaching, and it is advice, and it is making sure people are doing the right things at the right time. And a lot of that can be done through a virtual platform. I am a little unique in the fact that probably 75% of my caseload is tennis elbow. So I am the tennis elbow queen, and I see a lot of tennis elbow clients. Now, obviously, if you're thinking about the elbow, it's a very easily accessible part of the body. And I actually, one of my best friends in the UK had tennis elbow, again, about probably 9 months before COVID hit, and we worked together virtually. And so I knew I could treat tennis elbow virtually. So again, it was very easy for me to make that transition. If I feel like I do need to, so I really wish I could feel those muscles, or I wish I could do, I talk the client through it. I tell them what they need to do. I kind of say, well, feel through these muscles and tell me what you're feeling. And I actually use something I call the steak test. Is it rare, medium, or well done? What are you feeling in there? So we came up with ways of being able to do everything that we would normally do in the clinic. All the tests that I do, I talk them through. As long as I can see them and they can see and hear me, then I can do every single test that I would normally do in the clinic. The only thing I don't do is put my hands on them. But if I do need some feedback as to how something feels, I talk them through it. They tell me, I still get that information, and we can make the determination as to what they need from there.
You know, my curiosity now is I'm wondering, do you actually, or have you created a better relationship with the clients? And the reason I'm thinking this is suddenly they are fully participating. Now, I know they were participating before, but I would think sometimes they had a way of tuning you out and saying, just make me feel better. But now they are taking charge of their own health through your direction. Did you notice any difference? Or I don't want to put a word in your mouth on the strengthening of the relationship, but let's just talk about how did the relationship change before on the one-on-ones in the online arena?
Yeah, very much. I would say, you know, when we were in person, people come in and they would lie on the bed and they would say, heal me. It's like, you know, you fix me. That's your job, is to fix me. And not everybody, you know, but that was kind of the general consensus. The difference with being online is I'm gonna teach you what to do. I'm gonna tell you what to do. I'm gonna give you that guidance, but you got to do it. You know, and that was always the case, but I think it became very, very apparent when we started working virtually. Then the other fantastic thing about working virtually is that we're like this, you know, we are talking one-on-one. There's no distraction, well, apart from when the dog barks or the kids are around, but there's generally no distraction. There's nobody else around. You're not in a busy clinic. There's not phone calls going or being called by other people or exercises going on in the background. It's a very much more intimate relationship because it's just the two of us having this conversation. There's not all of the extraneous stuff going on around, which could be very distracting. The other thing that became apparent is that the time that we spent together was just so much better quality because we were together like this in this one-on-one environment. There was no sitting in the waiting room and then bringing them into the clinic and then you chit chat and waiting for them to get undressed and then come back in, and you know, you're straight into the session. And so it became really apparent that the quality of the relationship really improved from that perspective as well.
Fascinating. Now, Emma, I'm not sure where the timing is in the story, so you back me up or you put the placement on it, but this is the next call. I know we had numerous ones, but this is the one that stuck out in my mind. We got a call. It was a very serious call because you had to rightly consider the legal setup of your company. I think, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, I think you were starting to get more known internationally, which we're going to get into that. But I remember this discussion was very intense. We talked about different options, and it was really around the legal structure and your license. Can you extrapolate on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So starting to treat people virtually, you get the realization that actually I am not now bound geographically by who I can help. And so I created a Facebook group for tennis elbow sufferers, and I started to find that there were people all over the world who needed help, who needed assistance, and I had that solution. One of the downsides of having a physical therapy license is that I am allowed to treat with physical therapy people who are in California. and that's it. Now, I am also qualified in the UK as well, so a little different because I did train over there first, but I'm limited geographically. So if somebody, as somebody did, contacted me from France, I want to work with you. Well, unfortunately, that's not possible due to my license. How can I help this person? Because this person needs my help. I have the solution to their problem. What can I do about this? So I started to think, how can I help people? And I had realized that bringing everything online had almost sort of like, it had consolidated in my mind how I treat tennis elbow. I have 4 different phases of treatment that I take these clients through. And in each phase, I almost had a script. I've said it so many times. I've been treating these clients for nearly 15 years now. And so the same words would come out of my mouth to every single client. And I thought, what if I say those words into a camera instead of to a client? And then I've got videos that I can then point people to. So I did that in the summer of 2020. So I think it was July. I waited for my husband to take the kids out. So I had a few hours by myself in the house, and I filmed 20 videos of me talking to the camera, basically saying, this is how we treat tennis elbow. This is what you do. And so I was able to collate those videos into an online program that then could be accessible from anywhere in the world. But then I started to think, well, I'm giving physical therapy advice. I can't treat people from a physical therapist perspective. What can I do with this? So that was a conversation that Laurie and I had. And I started looking at, well, what are other people in the same space doing? Because they're out there. So basically, I had to create a separate company, because Quads Physical Therapy is essentially it was my brick and mortar company. It's now a virtual company, but it's still a physical therapy company. An education company is the way I can get my information out, and I can educate people through that company without it being physical therapy.
Perfect. And then I want to also emphasize this to everybody listening, and you can take it from there. I know we had a conversation that you also went and spoke to a lawyer, because as I talked with Emma about this, we were looking at if anything ever happens down the line. So it was easy for me to say, okay, let's set up another structure. This is what you have to do. I can walk you through it. But I really wanted Emma to fine tune every single word. And it's real important, for example, on the documents of the incorporation, what is the company? What are you saying it's doing? We wanted to make sure it was a clean break. So sometimes I know entrepreneurs are, I'll do it myself. I can go through LegalZoom, but sometimes it is important to just invest money in getting a lawyer's opinion. I'm not somebody that says a lawyer needs to be for everything, but sometimes you need to stop and spend a little bit money. Any comments on that, Emma?
Yeah, I found a lawyer who actually had been a physical therapist and is now a lawyer. So understood both sides of that. She'd also worked with other physical therapists who had started to create online programs and online courses. And so knew the intricacies of that, knew the course hosting platform that I use, because, there's a tech side of it for treating clients virtually like this and using Zoom, but there's another tech side of it when you're hosting online content as well. And so she was familiar with all of that. So I felt really comfortable speaking to her with that. It's like, okay, what do I need to have in place? What do I need to be making sure that I have for these clients who are not going to be patients of mine, but they're going to be going through the education company.
And on the word of education, many years ago for me, it's probably back like 2007, I was looking at my own company and I was thinking, what is it that I sell? I'm a consultant and been a business consultant for my entire life. And if anybody's gone through traditional MBA school, they tell these stories about how trains needed to identify that they were selling transportation when they started having more people travel by trains, and planes and everybody caught on to the fact that they were selling transportation. Well, in my MBA, I just recalled the tidbits of that story. And I remember sitting and thinking, what is it that I sell? And I realized I sell information And I took it one step further. I sell intellect. And so my company, kind of morphed from a more one-on-one, high level turnaround to selling information online. And that's where Business Simply Put comes. So I brought that up for this purpose, Emma, because I'm going to go back to something you said. When I decided that I sold things and I sold intellect, I realized at that point in time that the wonderful thing about intellect or education, it can be packaged, it could be sold, and I was able to do some packaging. But what I found most challenging was two aspects. One, okay, how do I package it? You said take videos of yourself. I'm going to ask you one, and I know somebody's going to want to know, did you use an iPhone? Did you buy expensive camera? What did you do? And the next thing is, how did you get it out into, I'm going to call it just cyberspace? There's so many people that want an online presence and they think, oh, I'll just put it out there and the world's going to find me. So let's drill down on first, how did you make the videos that were professional enough that you could sell? And then how did you get the word out there?
Yeah, I did just use my iPhone, and I still do. I absolutely do. So the setup, when my husband took the kids out and I had those few hours to myself, I put a chair on top of the dining room table. I had a folder, so like a spiral bound folder. That's my planner. I had that opened up. The phone was wedged in between the spirals, and that was going to be filming me. And that was my first setup. Now, I've since got a little more high tech. I do have sort of like the little phone holder now, but it's still my phone. I still do it that way. It literally is good enough. And again, I can remember back to one of my other mentors telling me as well, people don't care. They just want the information. They want to hear the information from you, because that's really what they want, to get that transformation for them. It doesn't matter whether you are standing there with your iPhone or not. If the information is what they need, then you're perfect. So yeah, perfect. That's what I did.
Okay, so now I know you have clients that were not from your brick and mortar. You expanded. Walk us through and take it as detailed as can be, Emma, because I know from speaking with all the SBDC clients, they really have a hard time jumping from nothing to something. And so many times people tell the success over here and they forget that nothing to something. So tell us about the nothing to something.
Yeah, it was really, really interesting to me, because I'd spent sort of July creating all of these videos, and I knew my program worked. I'd been doing it in person for 12 years at that point. I knew it worked virtually because I'd helped my best friend in the UK. I knew I could do this and I knew it worked. So I had done the videos, I'd created it, put it all together. I'd started to build a Facebook group of my perfect client, these tennis elbow sufferers, because I knew I could help them. And I looked into, I didn't really know how am I going to get this, like, is there a course platform? What am I going to do with it? So actually, when I first sold my program, it was all delivered via email. I just, all the videos I uploaded to YouTube. I have them unlisted on YouTube, and I would embed them into a email. I would send it as an email, and that is how people access my course in the very beginning. I love that.
That's just a simple thing that most people have enough tech understanding to do, because I know on YouTube you can unlist them and you can then just send. So you're just using YouTube basically as the host to store the video and then sending them an email. And then let's follow it all the way through, Emma. How are they paying you?
Yeah, so when I knew, I was like, this is how I'm going to do it. I did a challenge in my Facebook group because I thought, okay, I want to sell this program. I know how valuable it is. I want to do I did a 5-day challenge in my Facebook group. So people joined me at 9 a.m. every morning for a week in the Facebook group, and I would give them an action step for the day. I'd give them a little bit of information. And then at the end of it, I was going to do a webinar, a masterclass to sell them into my program to show the benefits. So I had set up this challenge. I did the first 3 days. It's absolutely brilliant. It was in September 2020. And on day 4, the Bobcat fire hit and we got evacuated from our house. It was just like, seriously, we've had COVID so far. The kids are home from school and now we have wildfires and we got evacuated. So it couldn't have been, there was just so much going on. So we ended up in Vegas. So day 4 was late because I was traveling to Vegas. We did day 4 and day 5 in Vegas. I did the masterclass in whilst we were in the hotel. And kind of engagement had been really, really good. I got to the masterclass. I did my selling, which I felt really uncomfortable doing. And it was absolute crickets. I did not sell one. And I felt so demoralized. I was really down. I was like, I can help these people. Why are these people not accepting my help? I really struggled. And because the Bobcat fire was still going on, we actually ended up being away from home for almost a month. And at that time, I just couldn't see how I could do this. I couldn't see how I could get it across to people that this was something that was going to help them. I couldn't sell it. So I actually started working with a mindset coach who was, again, transformational with regards to just me figuring out what was going on. I had been a physical therapist for 25 years and could sell physical therapy in my sleep, yet I couldn't sell an online program. And that was really interesting to me to see that difference. And I actually, so the coach just took me back and she was like, okay, let's sell it for $1. Let's sell something for $1. Let's sell something online. And so I reached out to a lady who I'd been messaging backwards and forwards to. She was in the UK. And I said, I've got these first sort of 10 videos. Would you trial it for me? Like even the payment part, I'll just charge you $1. She's like, yeah, of course, that's no problem. And so at that time I was using PayPal. So she paid me $1 through PayPal. She got her first 10 videos. And then I was like, oh, I can sell it for $1. Can I sell it for $10? So then the next person, I sold it for $10. And then we went to 30. And then we got up to $97. And I had each of my 4 phases for $97. And I was able to sell that. And I'd done the first 2 phases. And then somebody was going through it and he was like, right, I'm ready for phase 3. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I've not filmed that yet. I need to do it. Oh. So it was the demand then really kickstarted me to, right, I've got to finish this.
You know what I love about that story? I always say that sometimes the biggest customer that you have to sell to is yourself. I've noted that for many, many years, and for pretty much my entire business life, I've identified myself as a consultant, a speaker, and a writer. And in my early times, what I did is I was a consultant and I used speaking for free and writing for free as a way to market to get clients. That's how I did it, right? And so over the years, what I wanted to do is I wanted to be a paid speaker and a paid writer. And why I was reminded when you said that is I said, what I want to do this first year, this was my first year as a speaker, right? I want to make $1. If I can make $1, because I've been giving away my speaking for so long, I was having a really hard time thinking I could sell my speaking. Right. So I said, if I make $1, and I started doing classes, webinars wasn't in existence then, on how to read financial statements and performance measurements and all these things I talk about. And at the end of the year, it was 30,000 and it was under a separate company, Business Simply Put, which is what I ended up going for. So I love your story of selling it for $1 because I think it's so true. Sometimes you just have to sell it to yourself. And that is the biggest sale. And also, you know, when you get setbacks, you have to keep going. Now, as you started to, your Facebook seems like that was the platform you really launched from. But a lot of times Facebook, you're kind of limited in getting out to everybody, or I thought you were. Did you then go into other platforms to continue to get more clients? What happened from there, Emma?
Yeah, Facebook still is probably my primary one. I have And again, it's a very specific group. It is for elbow pain sufferers. I probably get 100 new people a month into that group. I do have a presence on Instagram and as well as YouTube, but they're not as big. It is primarily Facebook. But when people are coming into my Facebook group, one of the questions that I ask them is, you know, I have this free tips guide on the 5 secrets to fast elbow pain relief. If you'd like it, you know, pop your email address in there and I'll send you some other hints and tips as well. So I do try and get their emails just so that you never know what's going to happen with Facebook. It went down for 12 hours, you know, a couple of weeks ago. So I do try and get their email address as well so that I can communicate with them in that way too. I have a surgeon, well, in fact, I have 2 doctors in the local area who send me their clients, who send me their elbow pain clients. So that's where I get my sort of my one-to-ones predominantly. And then the Facebook group is for people who are outside of California, outside of the US.
Gotcha. You know, when I would give away a free speech, I would always say I speak for email. So I would only give a speech if I could get the emails of the attendees. Now we're going to go back 1 second with 2 questions from someone from the audience about tech. So one person wants to know what video editing app that you used on the iPhone, and another person, back to your iPhone, whether it was portrait or landscape, and about how long each of the videos are.
Yeah, great questions. So initially I was just using iMovie, the app that's on the iPhone to edit my my videos. I do now do some editing in YouTube as well, and occasionally in Loom, depending on the video that I'm working on. But I try and keep it as simple as possible. I'm really not a big tech person. What was the other question, Laurie?
On landscape, portrait.
Oh, yeah, it was landscape.
Okay.
So I did all of my videos on landscape. So after probably about 6 months of delivering it via email, I did switch to a course hosting platform. I use Kajabi, which is a course hosting platform. And so the videos are in there and they are all in landscape. So it's, yeah, I would say it's important to do that.
Did you determine any time frame, like videos shouldn't be longer than this or shorter than this? Any thoughts on that? That was another question that they had.
Yeah, I kind of broke it up into the way that I teach. It was like, what is tennis elbow? Here's my little spiel on that. Why did you get it? Here's my little spiel. So these would be individual videos, and each were about 10 to 15 minutes. I can talk, as you can probably tell. It's like, wind me up and off I go. But one of my videos, when I was giving them the information about the self-help strategies that they can do at home, I just talked for 52 minutes, nonstop, to the camera, because again, it's just something I'm so used to doing. And so this initially was sent as a 52-minute video. And then I was like, no, that's just, that's way too much. So I do have a VA who works with me. She chopped it up into, okay, here's your section on heat and ice. Here's your section on cardio exercise. Here's your section on this. And so they're all now chopped up. So it's now like 12 different videos. So obviously each one is about 5 minutes there or thereabouts.
Gotcha. Perfect. Now let's get, and before we end this, and Lauren's going to make sure we're good on this, we're going to get your information, Emma. We're going to get it into the chat so people know how to get in touch with you, especially if they have tennis elbow, which that is such an issue for so many people. And I'm sure it's even more so with the computer. But going forward, so are you planning on trying to get the video sold more? I'm going to give you a whole bunch and just let you go with this. Are you wanting to go back to the brick and mortar? Are you kind of liking this? And then one of the things that I always am a big proponent of is saying, if you can have a business that actually gives you the life you want, gives you a personal life too, it's so important. So why don't you just take us down that road and let's see where we go?
Yeah, absolutely. So in May of 2020, so obviously this was like 2 months into COVID, I had the opportunity to have 2 physical locations. So the gym where we'd been just as COVID closed down and the gym we were going to move into both wanted us. And I thought, well, you know, here's a potential opportunity for 2 locations, 2 sets of staff. And I just saw it as 2 sets of headaches. And I had a conversation with another business coach, and I said, I feel like this is what I should do. And I remember he just sat back and he's like, should you? And I just, that just made me realize, I was like, I was doing what I thought I should do, not what I actually wanted to do. And I realized,
you should all over yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah, good point. I love what you're saying. Keep going. I didn't mean to interrupt. That's the key part. Keep going.
That's okay. And I realized I would have been so miserable if I had gone down that road and sort of branched into 2 locations, and I would have been rushing around like a crazy person, and the kids were still out of school. And I just took this step back and I just thought, no, there has to be a different way. When the kids got out of school, I realized, yes, it's hard to be homeschooling and all the rest of that. I actually gained back 10 hours of my week because I was not dropping kids off in the morning and picking them up in the afternoon. And so I was like, well, what am I going to do with these extra 10 hours a week? So I wrote the book. So I wrote my book. This came out in April of this year. And obviously this is also something that can get out to people. The tennis elbow relief, they buy it on Amazon all over the world. And so I was like, this is going to be helping me get people the information that they need if they can't access me. So I did that. And I was thinking, I really like this. Getting royalties every month is really great. So I'm actually in the process of writing my second book. And this one is going to be all about back pain relief, because whilst 75% of my clients are tennis elbow clients, the other 25% are predominantly back pain. I teach clinical Pilates. I teach online classes. And so the second book is going to be about that. But I started to realize I really love this online world, and being able to sit in your slippers and be talking to people like this all over the world is phenomenal. I loved being able to do that. And so I started to realize that actually, I don't want to go back into the clinic. I don't want to do that. Now, when lockdown started to ease, I did have some clients say, are you going back into the clinic? At the time, my kids were still off school. And I was like, I can't, you know, I have 2 kids at home and I need to be there helping them with remote learning. So the answer was no. Well, the kids went back to school in August of this year. So again, people were starting to say, are you going to go back in? Some of my clients were actually saying, you're not going back in, are you? Because they love working in this way. There's no commuting. There's no finding a parking space. There's no paying for parking. There's no taking time out of your day. You literally click a button, you're on with me. And then you click a button and you're off and you carry on with your day. And my clients started to realize they loved it as much as I did. And so it became very obvious that it was like, actually, no, this is the way that we're going to continue working because of the types of clients that I work with. I can do this. Right. So I started to realize, yeah, this is great. My online courses, I've developed a few different online courses. There are clinical Pilates courses as well that patients can take themselves through. Again, this comes under the education side of things because there's no interaction with me whatsoever. People buy the course, it's hosted on the course platform, they watch the videos, they do everything themselves. And so now I have PayPal as a backup because I know that was one of the questions before, but I do now use Stripe. Stripe integrates with Kajabi. It's all kind of in one. So that was very easy. But growing my online presence, my online business is definitely what I want to be doing in the future. When I was preparing for this chat with Laurie, I was looking at, well, what have I done passively since sort of this time last year? And it's about $25,000 in passive income.
Wow,
And
that's great.
so, yeah, so I was like, that I can grow and scale this. I can reach more people with this. And just getting more people into my world, I've already done the work of creating the products. So that part of it is done. It doesn't take any more work from me to get more and more people into those courses that are already there.
You know, I'm a firm believer that anything's possible if you think outside the box. And, you know, Emma knows me personally from being on the phone with me so much through the SBDC that I'm a contrarian. I have always lived my life a little bit different than what mainstream believes you should. And I've always fought that because I'm like, I should be like this, should be, right? But I'm like, but this makes me happy and I really like to do this. And I think that if I always think to myself that there's one thing that we could say positive came out of COVID. We hear so many negative things. It's good to say some positive things. Is I think it forced people to step back and say, well, what do I want to do? Because so many people get caught in, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this. And, you know, we get one shot at life. We could be more, but I'm going to prescribe to we only have one right now. And I always say, if I'm going to be here on planet Earth, I'm going to have fun. I'm going to, you know, do things I want to do and I'm going to have fun. And it sounds like you're really having fun with it now. I can even tell because when we spoke, which was, you know, over a year ago, I can remember the conversation going back to the beginning of you possibly signing that lease. And part of my reason was financial because I believe everything should be a number. I believe Excel can solve all world problems. You've heard me say that. Everything to me is a number. The gut makes good decisions, but they're better on numbers, right? But the other part that I hear is people's voice. I can really sense what's going on inside a person. And as entrepreneurs, we're not trying to be unhappy. If we want to be unhappy, go back in the corporate job, right? We're trying to be happy. And so I could tell that there was just some stress with you on going there. So that's awesome. Now we got a few other questions I'm going to ask of you, and these are just some miscellaneous ones. Somebody wants to know, do you use an online scheduler?
I tend not to. I am very last minute, fly by the seat of my pants. I wish I wasn't. But I tend not to. It's definitely something that I feel I should do maybe in the future. But right now, no, I tend not to. I will schedule out posts in my Facebook group. So I will schedule them to come out in the future, but I just do that within the group.
Gotcha. Now, here's a good question that somebody asked too is, what marketing strategies or tips would you say for educational programs specifically?
Yeah, it's really trying to meet your clients where they are. You know, my clients are on Facebook and they're looking for information. They're looking for answers to pain, which is the answers to pain is very different to actually fully healing. And so it's meeting your perfect person where they are. And that was quite a challenge for me initially as well, because, you know, as a physical therapist, I'm like, I want to heal you. I'm like, I don't care about that. I just want pain relief. It's like, oh, okay. So kind of making that switch in your head. But definitely, you know, Facebook has been my primary platform, and getting into other groups where you know your person is going to be answering questions, just giving value. And so you get to the point, and this happened to me, where people are asking questions in other groups, and some of my clients who'd been through my courses would answer the question and say, oh, you need to see Emma, you need to see Emma's course. And I can remember waking up one morning, I had 75 people asked to join my group overnight. And I was like, what the heck has happened here? And it was somebody in a different group had been saying, oh, I've just been through Emma's program. I don't have tennis elbow anymore. It's wonderful. And so once it just will start to snowball, and then people will start to refer you as the expert.
Gotcha. Now, I'm going to ask this question just as it's written, because I think it's more in the health provider world that you would understand. How do you handle the business elements with clients who may prefer to see you as a healthcare provider?
So if they're in California, they absolutely can. So, I will say to clients, did you know that you have that option? Because not everybody does, and it's very much a positive. If they want to work with me one-to-one, that is the fastest way to healing for sure. So if people want to work with me one-to-one, this is how I work. I work virtually, and I give them all the benefits of that. I still have 2 part-time admins that work with me. One is essentially a front desk. She does all my scheduling. She does all my phone calls. She lives 100 miles away from me. I've actually never met her. And so this is the beauty of technology and being able to work in this way. And the other guy is my tech guy who, again, so I've not seen him now for almost 2 years, although I see him every week on a staff meeting when we do our Zoom staff meeting. But he does all the tech calls, and he sends all the Zoom links out. He makes sure everybody is comfortable getting on there. But it's kind of like, it's just giving them the option. If somebody is desperate for in-person therapy, then they're not my perfect person. I can help them find an in-person clinic. And we'll keep in touch, once you've been through in person, if there's anything I can help you with, we're here to help. And just giving them those options, letting them know what their options are. Many times if people do want in person, I say to them, maybe ask these questions. These are going to be good questions for the condition that you have. Get answers to these questions, and then you can make an informed decision.
You bring up another really good point that I try to get entrepreneurs to realize. Don't constantly bend yourself, your products, your service to meet everybody's request. Entrepreneurs are so scared that they're not going to get another customer or client that they end up bending their way of doing business. And in essence, the biggest issue I see a lot is they go against their core competencies or the direction they want to go, and they end up doing a bunch of everything, but nothing really strong. Their marketing messages suffer, their delivery of goods suffer. I've been virtual for way over 10 years. I used to get up and do the suit and get in my car and go into corporations. I did all that. And 10 years ago, way before COVID, I was like, no, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm just not. And so when people were like, we need you to come in, we need you to be our interim CFO, and you have to be on site, I would do exactly like you, Emma. I'd say, I'm not the person. And then I would explain to them, I can do everything that I would do in your offices. I can handle it. But if you are not comfortable with that arrangement, I'm not the person. And that's a really important thing to say. Now, we got a couple minutes left. I want to make sure, Lauren, I'm going to get you in on this. We got to make sure that Emma's information, I'm sure somebody on there has any kind of tennis elbow. We got to make sure your information gets put into the chat. So what can Lauren give our attendees to get in touch with you or see your videos or whatever you would like to share, Emma?
Yeah, absolutely. I am more than happy to answer questions on any of these subjects. I know the journey I've been on, it seems really short when I think back, but it's definitely been a journey. People can contact me at emmagreenonline.com. That is my physical therapy website. I'm also at tenniselbowqueen.com, which is probably a little easier to remember. But if people want to email me, Emma at tenniselbowqueen.com, feel free if there are any questions that I didn't get to or didn't answer, because it's certainly a journey. It's an amazing experience to be able to use technology in this way now. If you think back, 15, 20 years, who would have thought that we would be able to do this now? It's just amazing. And to be able to reach more people and help more people using these technologies is just a fantastic tool.
Well, your story is great. Your energy, walking through with it. There was so many great tidbits that everybody learned today. I can't thank you enough for coming on SmallBiz Talk and being my first guest. And to everybody, for next week, we're going to have another guest that's going to speak specifically on social media and tell you all different types of things that you may want to know and different aspects of social media and marketing your company through that. Also, as a reminder, we've got the Ask Lori a Question that we're going to be doing at the end of every show. And in that, you can even enter the question in ahead of time. I'm going to take this to Lauren in a bit, and she's going to give you details on that. And starting next week, we're going to start another session where I'm going to kind of give you a tidbit every week from an experience I've had during the week and clients where they made mistakes or good things. I'm going to give you a little bit of a tidbit of information. So with everybody, I want to thank you so much for being on the show. Emma, thank you again for sharing, and I'm going to pass this back to Lauren.
Thanks, Laurie. It's been a pleasure.
Awesome job, ladies. I mean, the content was so great. Emma, your story, insane. I am reeling right now, and I know our attendees are as well. Thank you, ladies, again. To all of our attendees, thank you so much for joining us. Please join us again next week at 10 a.m. For another session again with Deborah Darris and the wonderful Lori Williams. Any questions, please be sure to reach out. The email is lsimpson@lbcc.edu. I've also included URLs for our sign up page. So if you have any questions and or suggestions for new shows, send them that way. And then email will be going up, a follow-up email will be going out to everyone in attendance with Emma's contact information. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, ladies, so much. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Bye, everybody. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.